Well, hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Tall in the Saddle podcast. As usual, you have Jake. I'm Bobby. We're here again in the Spirit of Virginia Arena at the National Center for Healthy Veterans on Valor Farm. I promise you in the next week or so, Jake and I will put together a what we have been doing video. We have been a little negligent on that, and we have been busy. Wouldn't you say?
I'm hesitant to make promises.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
It always is. But yeah, we're gonna try to. We've had a lot going on, a lot of events. We had an open ride last night, a bonfire. Had some friends come out and play music. There's been a lot of traffic here, and I just want to share with you guys what that looks like, what we've been doing. We're still fundraising for a lot of projects around here on the farm. If you want to be a part of that, please check out the website, see how you can get involved. If you want to come by to volunteer. Or just participate in the stuff we're doing. Check out Facebook. Check out our
healthyveterans.org.
And come be a part. It's many hands make light work. That's what our boss says
All the time.
So with that being said and the business handled, today we have one of our friends on the podcast as a guest, Mark Maslow, local business owner, former volunteer firefighter, pilot, Virginia Tech grad, the list goes on.
Cowboy.
Farmer.
Wannabe.
We all are.
Wannabe.
We all are to some extent. So, so let's get into this podcast. Today we're going to just talk about life and the fun stuff. Mark's done a bunch of videos recently about his business. You can check those out. He just did a really good one on LNI, and I think there's probably other ones you could probably find out there. We'll talk about that later, but check those out. But today we're going to have fun and just talk about life and experiences and lessons learned and things like that. Get to know Mark a little bit better. So,
And Jonas is back.
and Jonas is back behind behind the
Camera.
and table, and we're glad to have him back. We're going to get this deal on Spotify ASAP with Jonas's help now that we're back in the groove there. So, well, Mark, thanks for being here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, you're hot off a trip and another podcast and busy man.
It is indeed, but it's all good stuff. It's all really good stuff.
Did you go to the Sixes sale?
Been to that sale twice. I didn't go this past year. The year before I went and bought a horse.
Yeah.
And then the year before that I went just more as a spectator. That was a fun trip. That was a really fun trip. First year we flew us down there, got to land on their private runway. They came over and picked us up and made a couple of great friends doing that. That was really neat. And stayed in Wichita Falls, so we flew back and forth for the sale. But the last time we went down, I took a trailer and motorhome, and we stayed there at the Sixes, and that was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of really cool cowboys that have obviously been doing this their whole life. That was fun. That's true, authentic Western cowboy and what they're doing down there.
Take us behind the scenes of that a little bit, because a lot that is not a very, and I think it's probably fair and safe to do it. They're not keeping it from the public. It's just most people don't. They go down there for the experience. That kind of person's not going to be like vlogging or blogging.
That's right.
Unless you're Dale Brisby or something, you know.
Hey, he was down there. Actually, we got to meet him.
I know. He was probably the only one capturing content down there.
Well, he wasn't even capturing content that day, but my daughter looked up and she goes, "Hey, Dad, Dale, yes, here." I said, "Where?" She said, "Look, over there."
Yep.
I said, "You go meet him?" She said, "No, but I'm going over there. I'm going to meet him." So
He seems like a really genuine.
yeah, he does a lot of day work with the guys at the Sixes. So I didn't realize that, but talking to him, we got to learn a little bit about him. But,
So would give us a little bit of behind the scene. Like what did you do that day?
So-
what does that look like to go to the sale there?
it was pretty cool. So in 2022, we were on a family RV trip out west, and I have some cousins that live in Wichita Falls. So we were going from Wichita Falls to southeastern New Mexico, and we were going to pass by the Sixes. And of course, this was when Yellowstone was popular. And,
Right.
I said, we ought to pull in there. And so we just pulled in there and knocked on the door, and they came out and welcomed us, gave us a tour around the whole place. I think we spent 3 hours there.
Wow.
And got to see the the breeding facility, all the stallions, their mare set up where they house them all when they're doing breeding, and all the different strains of horses that they have, and their beef and their so it was neat to be able to do that. And we said, well, heck, when the time came, we were in the market for another horse. We said, well, let's go down there and check it out. And so we planned this trip, and the way it works is on a Friday, they do a demonstration. So starting around 10 a.m., they do cow work. So like rein cow horse stuff, run them down the fence, box them. Then they team rope on the horses that team rope.
Are they using the sale horses for that?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of an exhibition?
Yep, that's what it is. So they're trying to let people see the horse, because you can't go down there. Obviously, they've typically got about 150 horses in a sale. You can't let everybody ride every horse. No. So the cowboys that have trained and worked and developed that horse exhibit on it. So you kind of get to see how it how the system works, or how the horse works and its buttons, and they know how to break a horse, and they know how to ride a horse, and they know how to get it to do all kinds of interesting things. But it was cool to see that, and it's in Guthrie, Texas, is a town of, I think the population's maybe like 200 people.
Yeah, it's really small.
It's tiny. There's one store there, which is the trading post essentially that the Sixes owns.
Yeah.
But it's very, very family oriented. I mean, it's faith, family, and cows, in that order, and that's how it works. The horses are, a tool to raise the cows. So, but they're very passionate about it. I mean, they're incredibly passionate about it. So it was neat to be down there, and of course, we stayed down there. When we took the RV, we stayed down there, and so we got to hang out with a lot of the guys afterwards and get to know them a little bit and what they're doing and how they do it. And, they got kids out there that are 5 and 6 years old that are 10 times the cowboy I'll ever aspire to be. It's crazy.
That's all we know.
Yeah, it is.
That's interesting, because like you think an organization that big, and then that in my mind exclusive, and they're very set apart from what they do, being welcoming to the general public. Like, just show up and like, yeah, let's show you around. Let me show you what we do. Because maybe there's benefit in that for them. Maybe there's not, but they're still willing to do it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It's definitely just a different, I don't know, maybe mentality or beat, but it's hey, we're here to help. We're here to help each other. Thanks for coming by and seeing us. What do we have that we can help you with? It's neat, man. It really is neat. I enjoyed that trip.
And that's Boots, right? That's where he's at.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, because you can see that, and like he's like probably the unofficial ambassador for that place, whether he knows it or not. But you get that from him too, just the authentic, just that's just what I do.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else about it, and it's inspiring to a lot of us. It's just like, that's just tomorrow for us, or today. So
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because the 4.6s, you think about big Texas ranches, and you got King and 4.6s and Pitchfork and Matador. The King, because of the cutting, and they've really marketed all of that. You got King Ranch Fords, you got all of this stuff that everybody knows about. But the sixes, they're bread and butter, what they've always been famous for. They're not really famous on the big scale. They're famous for ranch horses. That's it. Everybody knows best of Bermuda sale, 4.6s, right?
Yep.
That's kind of what they're about. But
Well, you brought up Boots. So we met him when we were there the second time, and we were talking to him, and I was with another buddy. He had a son, I had my daughter, and they introduced themselves, and they were talking, and he was telling us, I think Boots is 94, 95 now.
No.
Still rides every day. But he was telling us about, he had a wreck. This was maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
yeah,
And his horse came back to the barn without him. And of course, when the horse got back to the barn, everybody's like, oh no. And they'd gone and found Boots, and he had gotten bucked off and was on the ground, had a collapsed lung, broken ribs, all this stuff. So they got him up, got him to the hospital. And 6 weeks later, he got right back on the same horse again and kept riding.
I watched an interview about that wreck, and his daughter was featured in it. And she asked the surgeon when he came out, she, "Your dad's fine. He's going to be okay." And she goes, "When can he ride again?" And because he was still unconscious from surgery. And they both looked at, the orthopedic surgeon looked at him like, "What are you talking about? The man's like 88 years old."
Yeah.
She goes, "When he wakes up, that's the first question he's going to ask you. So you need to be sure you have an answer for him." It's like, wow.
Well, before we have to give Taylor Sheridan a bill for all this advertising,
Yeah.
right. Mark, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your past.
Yeah. So,
No,
Let's-
go ahead.
yeah. So, tell me about, like, so Mark and I met in our,
This is
fair to say, teenage years.
Yeah, high
Easy.
school for sure.
school.
Mowing grass.
Not put some dates.
Yep,
Don't put
so-
any dates on this deal.
Yeah. So, there was a point in time where any of us with any kind of like hustle behind us, we mowed grass because you could make quick money and
yeah.
it's cash money. I started when I was, my dad used to drop me off in a neighborhood with a trailer and a weed eater and a mower, and I had a woods walk behind. It was basically a bush hog.
Yeah.
And it was self-propelled, but barely. And he would just leave me in a neighborhood, and I'd mow, and he'd come pick me up because I couldn't drive, and that allowed me to get in my car. And I know you started early on. A couple of other friends started early on, but you shared your why behind your passion of enjoying landscaping. But are there any kind of like struggles or epiphany moments you had early on in that journey between like the first push mower and when you kind of switched gears and it kind of became, I got to pay taxes on this money now. This is the real deal. I got to hire somebody.
Yeah, it was first of all, it was great money, just mowing grass, earning income, and we had everything we needed growing up, and not a lot of what we wanted, but that was fine. That worked out really well for us because anything you wanted, you really had to go out there and work and get. And so working's always been a big part of what I do, what I enjoy, and I like it. I like the satisfaction, fulfillment of completing something and finishing something. And so that was a means for me to do it, and a means for me to make some extra money. And it just kind of grew. I enjoyed people. I enjoyed working. Just kind of kept pounding away at that. And I guess maybe when I got into high school, I started getting around some folks that were that had farms and were farming, and I would help them do things like cut hay or help move cows from pasture to pasture. And I always enjoyed it, at times more than I enjoyed landscaping. But I guess I was maybe 16. I started just kind of having a second passion, messing around with that type of stuff. And so, while, my first passion's always been landscaping, and I still enjoy it to this day, I enjoy working on the farm. I enjoy being out there with cows, horses, new challenges, building something, making it pretty, raising the animals, that type of stuff. And there's been plenty of lessons learned the hard way along the way. And in fact, I think that's how I learned most of my lessons, is the hard way.
You don't forget them when you learn them the hard way.
No, you really don't. You really don't. I remember this was my freshman year in college. I had to pay estimated tax. I didn't know what the heck estimated tax was. And I remember getting a letter when I was at college. It was like, you owe taxes and we're going to put a lien on this and that. And I thought to myself, what in the world? Estimated tax? I think you pay taxes when it was all said and done. So that was a lesson learned the hard way. Since then, I pay my estimated taxes like I'm supposed to now. So
That's good.
yeah.
That's good. And I think what I've seen too, as you've grown and been able to witness it and watch it, I genuinely think you care about people development. I think that's a fair thing to say, as much as you probably care about the actual work. I mean, that's work too, but I see the way you invest in your team. invest in your business, which is people, whether it be the client or your crew. And I think that is evident that it's very important to you.
Well, y'all can probably appreciate this because I know all of y'all, both of y'all have worked with people, not only here at the Veterans Center, but in your other jobs. But anytime you get people working with you that have the same passion, that want to learn, there's nothing more fun than teaching somebody how to do something they've never ever been able to do before, or help them realize they're capable of things that maybe they thought they never were capable of. But if they got the right mindset, it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, when you find somebody that's got some try and some drive and some ability, then you can kind of direct that and help them channel it, help them put it to work and achieve what they're doing. It's not like living vicariously through them. It's more like it's almost like you're building something in somebody else.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Jake. I hadn't thought about it like that, but that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question. So in the business, and we'll go back, talk about, growing up and stuff like that too, but while we're on business, other than like the estimated taxes and stuff, and if you can share it. Was there ever a time that you looked at the business card and go, this might not work? This did you ever doubt yourself far enough along in the process where it would be a big deal to shut it down, or has it been fairly smooth sailing?
Well, no, it hasn't been smooth. It's still today. I mean, even though we're we're a decent sized company and we're well established, there's still waves that ripple through a company. We're in a growth stage right now that's challenging, not because of any other reason than we're experiencing things we've not experienced before. So it's learning, it's new.
Growing pains.
Growing pains. And the cool part is when you're surrounded by like-minded, passionate people, you work through them. We just finished reading the book, Ideal Team Player, and it talks about 3 virtues, humble, hungry, smart. And if you're working around people that are hungry, humble, smart, really no matter in what capacity, whether it's at work, whether it's hobbies that you're doing, it's not hard and it's not challenging. I will say that, as the company was growing, it seemed like every day I was waking up finding out something new about myself. Like, oh my gosh, you are terrible at this. Or actually, you can do this pretty well. Maybe you should do that some more. Maybe you should not do that. But I've never thought for a minute that I would hang it up or that it wasn't going to work. I mean, there were times when financially it wasn't working, but I just knew you just had to keep pushing. Like I knew
You're not a quitter.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't going to quit, and I was still passionate about it. I've obviously had a lot of mentors along the way, so a lot of times they helped talk me off of a cliff when I was thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." And
who are some of those mentors that you probably haven't really talked about a lot?
Oh man, golly, going all the way back. So of course my parents were fantastic mentors. They did an incredible job raising me and my older brother and younger sister. They were very grounded. My dad's an immigrant. He came here from the Dominican Republic with literally nothing. So he has a unique appreciation for things. He's very frugal. So financial responsibility was something we learned really, really young. I would say it starts with them. I had some great teachers in school along the way that believed in me. I had some that I know wanted to hang me. Yeah. But I had a couple great ones that offered a lot of encouragement. And then as I started getting older and getting into business, a lot of y'all may know Melvin Hinton from MH Masonry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Melvin's a great guy.
He's through John Hart.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Come by the car dealership all the time.
He's always been a little bit of an inspiration to me, and always the glass is always half full, and
He's steady too.
he is.
He's just a steady guy.
He's a great human being.
He worked for
He worked for Wayne,
yeah.
Bat Masonry, and then started his own company. That's sort of where I got exposed to more of the farm stuff, was helping Wayne and them out, and exposed to flying
Wayne was a pilot.
was through Wayne and Greg.
Is that how you and I met?
That's how we originally
That
met.
rodeo farm?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just sitting here trying to think when and where I met you, and I think it was probably through like Carl and
Yep,
that
it
whole
was
deal over there.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
Carl.
rodeo.
That rodeo,
Yeah, because Carl
yeah.
he lives next door.
Yeah, he's still right next door there, and
Check it out. Check free labor for
and
Mike.
hey, Carl's great. To
Don't
this
fire him, Mike.
to this day, he still helps me cut hay.
Does he?
Does he?
Oh yeah,
Really?
oh yeah.
He's
So-
involved.
Yep.
He likes to be involved.
Yep, he's like the Boots O'Neill of forests, man. He's just
I asked Mike one day. I was like, "What's the deal here? What's the arrangement? How does this work?" And he said, "Oh, he just keeps an eye on the place."
He does. He's just passionate about farming. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, both Carl and Melvin have been a big part of it, and I've met different business owners through my peer group, and it's been fun. You learn a little bit something different from each person, and I would say in the last 5 years, it's been more about me trying to learn how to be a better leader. I didn't realize I was missing that really big part. So I had to get figure some things out on my own about working with people and being patient and letting people try things themselves or try it their way. And I always thought it had to be my way, or I had to do it how I wanted to do it. I'm sure y'all have experienced that.
Oh yeah. It's called Type A.
Well, that's an interesting point though, because in order to be a successful leader, you have to be fairly introspective to be able to look at yourself and say, I've got a hole here. And I
had a big one too.
I need to figure out how to fix it. But you've mentioned a couple things already. You mentioned the book that you guys just got through reading. You reading that as a group, like as a company?
Yeah, sir. It's 8 of us.
Okay.
It's little. We call it our book club. We try and read a book about every 3 months.
Okay.
And
See, it's little stuff like that people do, and kind of part of this whole, if there's a theme to this podcast, it's the pursuit of excellence, right?
yeah,
Trying to be the best in whatever you're doing, or trying to not necessarily be the best. That's the wrong verbiage, but trying to be the best that you can be at what you're doing, right? It sounds like you've made that sort of a hallmark of the way that you've run your business, the way that you've run your life. I know you guys are really into fitness and things like that. So in terms of how you lead, what does that look like?
yeah. So this was something my dad taught me as a young kid. If it's not worth doing right the first time, it's not worth doing. So I've tried to approach everything that I do with, let's do it right. If we need, I've just started learning how to team rope. And so I got a coach because if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go out here and do it halfway. And with my team at work, if we want to develop some people, we're going to get coaches and we're going to get what we need and we're going to do it and we're going to do it right. I talk about it with my kids all the time. They have chores they have to do. And as a matter of fact, coming in this morning, we keep the horse feed in a trash can. Well, I guess somebody
Keep trash in the horse feed sack.
yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
If you don't know,
right, man.
trash goes in a feed sack, feed goes in a trash can.
That's exactly right. And I look and there's like horse feed on the ground. I'm thinking, what in the world? And it's because my daughter didn't put the feed in the trash can. She just tried to dip it out of the bag. And so we got to have a little talk about that when we get back home. But just teaching them, says, hey, if you don't have time to do it right, just don't even do it. Just put it on the shelf and save it for when you can do it right.
We teach leadership to our guys in third trimester here through the general's book that he has, Resilient Leaders. And two things that I think you display very well, and I think what makes you a good leader and what makes any good leader a good leader is you care about making yourself better, like in the right ways, but you also take those around you with you on that journey. So if you're reading a book and it's good and you're getting something out of it, you're going to present that to your team and say, this is good for you too. Or if, you're going to encourage them to do the things that also make you better, generally speaking. And then I've watched over time, I pay attention to the oddest things, but you maintain the things that you have with a level of excellence that lets them last a long time. Vehicles, equipment, you always had, your crews are always put together. Your equipment is always squared away. I look when I go out. If I see guys spreading mulch, if I see guys, I pay attention to that. And I think more people than you realize do. And you are always from the outside squared away. And it's because of little things. It looks
that way.
Yeah, little things like that. Just, hey, let's, if there's a problem, let me teach you how to do this better. So that, and explain, that's why it's going to last longer. That's why we're not going to have mice in the barn, and we're going to have this or that problem or that. I mean, the Ford pickup truck that's still running, the two-tone Ford 7.3 diesel that's still running around today. It's always amazed me of like that truck has been kept, and it's probably not even y'all's anymore. Maybe it is. But,
nah, we sold it about 3 years ago.
But things like that, like you drive by the equipment, it's always squared away. The crews are always working. It's just you've built that into the system.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the way I was raised, essentially. Take care of what you got. You've got to make it work for you. And look, nobody wants to work with crummy tools, crummy equipment. And even if you don't own it, it's a tool that's going to help you get your job done more efficiently, easier. We got to take care of it. We got to treat it well. And when we do, it lasts a long time.
I read a statistic not too long ago that they did a survey of a bunch of employees and satisfaction levels and whether they were happy in their jobs or whatever and what made them that way. And money and vacation time and things like that we think of as top motivating factors were actually really far down the list. The top two motivating factors were having the right tools to do your job and feeling appreciated.
It goes back, I'm glad you brought that up, Jake, to the hierarchy of needs that people have in
Maslow's hierarchy.
Hierarchy of needs.
You wrote it.
Unfortunately, unrelated. Now, how somebody from the Dominican Republic gets the name as a German philosopher, I don't know, but...
I was going to ask about the Dominican thing. We'll go there next. I didn't know that piece.
But at a basic level, we talk about it at work. People have to have the tools and materials they need to do their job, and they have to know what's expected of them. If they don't leave the shop every morning with those two very basic principles, it doesn't matter how much you pay them. It doesn't matter how much vacation time they have. To your point, Jake, they're not going to stick around because they need those two things.
Yep.
And then everybody wants to be have a sense of approval. They want to know that their boss is let me say that. Let me back up and say this. Everybody that wants to excel wants to get that approval from their supervisor, their boss, whoever it is. So you've got to do that. You got to set them up for success. Make sure they know where they're going. Make sure they got the tools. Make sure they know what's expected, so that they can complete the job. And then you can praise them for their efforts and great work. And that used to be something I was terrible at. I would go to a job and they would do 90 things great, and I would pick out the 3 things that they did crappy. And I'd be like, why haven't you done this? Or why is there mulch on the sidewalk right there? And you talk about just taking a balloon and popping it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like a wrecking ball. I mean, I didn't realize it. It was part of me wanting everything to be perfect and not realizing that, look, that's not the path to get there.
Yep. So, all right, here's a question. How do you navigate that? Because the mulch can't stay on the sidewalk, right? Because you still want perfection for your customer. So what does Mark do now if he rolls up to a job and 75 things were done correctly? The job is done, right? But it's not perfect in your eyes. How does a good leader go about navigating making that happen?
Well, so the first thing I do is I always smile, even when I'm got little steam blowing out of my ear. I'm smiling because I don't want to let them on to it. Because at the end of the day, there's a reason why they forgot it. Maybe they haven't done their checklist yet.
Sure.
You know, we got a departure checklist that we do at the end of the job. The job's not over, so I've learned it always has to be a benefit of the doubt situation. So I'm going to give everybody, always give them the benefit of the doubt.
Ask the question first.
Yeah, unless it's a safety issue or something like that, we'll make sure we know what's going on. And to Jake's points, open-ended questions.
Your guy that does that. You were talking about that on LNI.
Yeah.
Your employee that was teaching you how to ask better questions.
Kyle does it because my type A personality is I want to direct things, to like do this, do that. And that's been something I've really I have to talk to myself in the mirror every day about that. Like, remember, it's not about what you would do. It's about asking open-ended questions and understanding where they're coming from. And maybe we've dropped the ball training somewhere. I mean, I do it with my kids. I do it with my wife. Like, hang on, what are we trying to accomplish? What do we need to do? What happens if this isn't done? What happens if we get this done on time? And then people start to think through things.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like in those moments, even as the boss leading by example, like would you be the one to just kind of, if you roll up to the job, just jump in there and start to do a little few things without, or no?
I would. So the way I used to operate is I would come around the job, I'd walk around and I'd be like, okay, this isn't right. We need to change this. You need to move that pallet over here. It's too far. It's taking too much time. Why is the portable toilet 100 yards away? Let's get it down here closer. And that's what I didn't realize I was doing that was kind of destructive. And look, I've driven a lot of great people away from my company unintentionally. I mean, I see them today and they're very successful people, but that wasn't their fault. That was my fault. So now when I go up there, it's always compliments. It's always, hey, this is going on. And then with Kyle running the day to day, I can filter a lot of things through Kyle. So I can say, hey, I was at this job site. This is what I saw today. It concerns me because of this, this, and this. And then Kyle can go and talk with the different leaders and say, hey, talk to me a little bit about this situation and what went on. And I've just watched how he's interacted with people like that. And seeing him be successful with it reminds me that that's kind of how you got to do it.
So in listening to the last couple of minutes, I've heard a couple of things that have stood out. Your departure checklist. Sounds like you guys have implemented a ton of really standardized procedure, standardized policies that make your operation run smoothly, that give clear expectations, help people keep from forgetting things. And then the other one is seems like you pay a lot of attention to efficiency as far as what will make small gains that add up to big gains. So how have those two things developed over the years with the company?
That's a great question. So the whole checklist thing came from being a pilot. So anytime I fly the plane, I've flown thousands of hours, and I've never once gotten in the airplane without going through a checklist. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why there's a checklist. There's a reason why they train you to a checklist. There's a reason why commercial airliners are the safest way to travel, because they are so thorough and there's so many redundancies. So it was pretty simple to me. It's like, okay, let's just take this and apply it to what we're doing each day. All right, before we leave the shop, what do we have to do? We have to check the oil, we have to check the air pressure tires, we have to check our lights, we have to check our trailer lights, we have to check our materials list, and we have to check our tool list. And if we've done that, we should have everything that we need to do that day, provided the scope of the work doesn't change. Mm-hmm. So that minimizes return trips. It minimizes errand runners having to jump in a truck and go around and take this to somebody. Because remember, we're stewards of our clients' money. Mm-hmm. Okay? We can't just be sloppy and charge the client for being sloppy. Like, we're responsible for their money, and we have to be as efficient as we possibly can to make cost of the project is low as we can functionally make it. And so that's one of the ways we do it. When we get to the job, there's a walk around checklist. When you leave the job, when you go to clock out of your job, a checklist pops up. Did I blow off the driveway and all hard surfaces? Did I pick up any loose debris? Did I do a 360 around the job and check for any tools that got left on the job site? Did I leave a service ticket for my client? Did I get their trash can in? Did I get their newspaper in? Did I roll up any hose reels? And is there any evidence of where my truck was parked? So you go through that, and when you leave, all those better be green. And if they're not, we're going to get an alert.
Yeah.
And then if we get a call back, because of something like that, we can have it. It used to be, I'm like, what the heck? Why'd you leave this? You didn't do that. Screaming and not screaming, but visibly frustrated.
I get it.
Sure.
But now it's like, okay, hey, we had this client call in and we've left a hard metal rake with the tines up in the backyard. Now, this client's got a 4-year-old son. Mm-hmm. What could potentially happen? Mm-hmm. And get them thinking through, okay, right. This is important.
Why does it matter?
I've got to do the checklist. Because when I do the checklist, things go really smooth.
Right. I think that's one of the hardest things to build into people as a leader is that thoroughness. Because for probably like the three of us sitting here, I think we're all wired the same way. We all do those things instinctively.
I was getting excited when he was talking.
Yeah, I know you were. I saw you.
I was singing my song.
I saw you.
I'm ready to go do some landscaping.
Yeah, that's right.
Little veins are popping out of your head.
We got a place we can go after we leave.
Grass is starting to grow. Bobby's got his straw hat on.
That's
It's time
right.
to start the mower.
That's right.
No, but it really is. It's hard to build that stuff into people because the biggest thing that I hear from my crews, and it's been this way for a long time, in multiple jobs, not just here, is I don't have time for that. And it's always in relation to process. It's always in relation to checklists, POs, whatever it is. It's, I don't have time to do all that. I'm never going to be able to get everything done if I don't. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. If you take 10 minutes to do this, you'll save yourself an hour later in the day. It's like, it's like compounding interest. If you just do it here, it'll pay off 10 years down the road. But those are the things that are so hard to instill in people until you just force them to do it against their will, and then they see the results.
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine, also one of my mentors, Jared. He his daughter plays soccer at Messiah College, and the coach at Messiah College is, and I may not have the figures exactly right, but the women's soccer coach is, I think, the winningest soccer coach in the country. They've won more national titles than anybody. And Jared and I were talking the other day, and he was telling me that he was talking to the coach, and he said, it's simple, Jared. I've got one rule. You can't cheat the process. Mm-hmm. If you cheat the process, it doesn't work. Mm. Everything falls apart when you cheat the process. And so there is a correct way to do everything. There's a correct order to do everything in. We may physically get the mulch out of the truck using a different tool or a different method, but the mulch has to go down. It has to be 2 inches thick. The ground has to be clean when you're done. There's basic processes. And when people understand that following those, to your point, Jake, when they understand that following those actually yields a faster, better, more efficient result, then they can start getting on board with it. Mm-hmm. But it's human nature not to follow a process for a lot of people.
I wonder why.
That's a dang good question, man. I wish I knew the answer. I don't know.
It's how you're wired, I'm sure, but I personally find comfort and security in good policy and process and stuff because I've done it and I believe it. And I guess if you're not wired that way and you haven't experienced it, you're just gonna, you don't know what you don't know. But I find a lot of peace and security in the process, and maybe it gives me something to blame if it doesn't. Like if I fail, I can, well, it was the process. It let me down, but I like it.
Like, not to get in the weeds too deep, but so we know that God sets up process. He sets up order. You can look at nature and see that. And I wonder if our resistance to process isn't a result of sin in us and a fallen nature. And we talk a lot here about the tyranny of the urgent and how we get controlled by the tyranny of the urgent. And for us as leaders, as we grow, we learn to overcome that, and we learn to look at the situation and say, okay, this is what I feel is pressuring me. Triage it the same way that you did. You say, what are we trying to accomplish here? What's our goal? How are we going to accomplish that goal? Is this the right thing to do, or should we look at it a different way? Yeah. And you step back and you learn to not react right away. And you learn to say, okay, I'm not going to yell about the mulch on the sidewalk. I'm going to say, hey, you guys, this place looks great. Looks like you just about got it wrapped up. Great job. Let's make sure we blow that off before we leave.
Yeah. Follow your departure checklist.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just one of those things where you have to grow beyond being controlled by the pressure. Right?
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. Super hard.
Yeah.
One of the things we have that we talk about here a lot too is leaders don't react to the first piece of intel. So when somebody comes to you with a story, or somebody comes to you with some crazy report and it doesn't make any sense, you're like, that's interesting. And you just kind of put it in your back pocket and you wait for the next piece of intel to come in, and then whether it corroborates it or not, or you go and you hear the other side of the story and you put the pieces together and figure out what happened.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jake, because that was something I was terrible about. Somebody come to me with a problem, and I just knew that was exactly what the problem was, and I had to go immediately solve it. And another buddy of mine always said it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. Right. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it seems too good to be true, or it seems like the end of the world, it's probably not either.
Yep.
Understanding the benefit of delayed gratification too, and just being able to say, the process is part of it, and the joy and the results will come at the end, but it's not always immediate. Like, you have to understand that concept, or you'll hate the process, because the process usually takes a little bit more time or a few more steps. But I was thinking about flying. Imagine if you treated like if you were in the cockpit. It's probably why you like flying too. You're good at flying. If you have a problem, a light goes off, a warning goes off. If you flip the lid and just start just immediately reacting and overreacting, or you have to stop, and then you implement another checklist when that happens, right? You can't just make knee-jerk reactions. I wouldn't assume. You have a checklist that you have to go through when a problem happens.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's interesting because in relation to flying, which is maybe a more compounded version of what happens when a process gets subverted anywhere in life, but maybe it's more magnified in flying, because if you don't do it right, you'll probably die. But I was taken off the other day, and I was 400 feet off the ground. And of course, the most dangerous part of flying is the first 1,000 feet at takeoff and the last 1,000 feet when you come into land. It's where things can go really wrong. And the plane I'm in, it flies a twin engine. So if everybody thinks, one engine quits working, oh, you got another one. Well, you do, but there's a lot of things that have to happen, or you'll be upside down in 30 seconds or less. So I took off the other day, and at 400 feet, I start getting an alarm flashing. And immediately I make sure that my engines are producing power and that there's no fire. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to triage this till 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. And then at 1,000 feet, I'll level off and I'll see what's going on. But if you don't follow the process, then at 400 feet, you are in a critical phase of flight. And now all of a sudden, you're touching, you're looking, you're hitting things, and the plane is now nose down 400 feet off the ground, and you've got seconds to react before you hit something.
You can't take your eye off the ball there.
Right. So I think you put it really well, Jay. Like it's maybe it's urgent, but it's Like you've got to triage it and you got to say, okay, what's really happening? If the propeller quits spinning on the left engine, then my triage has to happen a lot quicker and I've got to start taking actions. But if my plane is still making power, I'm still going up and nothing's on fire, then we'll get where we need to go and we'll deal with it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So how did you get into flying?
I had a buddy of mine that took me flying when I guess I was in college, or maybe late high school. I had a friend of mine that flew, and he took me up, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And then when I went to school at Tech, my roommate, his brother flew, and he came up to Tech one day and then took us out flying. And I was like, man, I've got to do this. So after I graduated and came back home, I started taking flying lessons, and I had to quit after about 10 lessons because there were 3 reasons, but there was one overbearing reason. Time, money, and then I was scared of that airplane. That's the real truth.
What do you mean you were scared?
I had an instructor. I couldn't quite get the maneuvers down, like figure out, and he was probably equally as frustrated that I couldn't get it down. And so I remember coming down and landing, and he looked at me, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, holy cow. So I thought, you know what, let me just table this. Maybe I shouldn't be flying. Maybe I've got a longer way to go. Maybe I'm not focused. And so I put it on the table for about a year. And then I got mad because I was like, that's a bad coach.
Yeah.
That's a bad coach. Like, and so it gave me a minute to reflect, at a young age about how I might be perceived by somebody if I'm getting frustrated trying to teach somebody how to run a lawnmower or teach my kids how to ride their bike, or, you need encouragement even when you're terrible. Come on, you got it. You're doing good.
That's when you need it the most.
You got it. You got this, Mark. I know you can do it. And I didn't get that, so my confidence had kind of got shattered. I went back and I had a different instructor. He was younger than me. He was a state trooper, but he was an incredible instructor. And he knew the limits of what was safe and what wasn't, so he let me learn the airplane, let me figure it out. Like, okay, if you do this, this is going to happen. He wasn't grabbing it and saying, hey, you need to hold this straight. And he's like, wow. Okay, Mark, we're 45 degrees here. We probably ought to think about doing something different. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
It takes a special person to be a flight
It does.
I couldn't imagine.
It does.
Well, and I think that's a lot like your what you said about the folks that have been in your company over the years that were great folks, but maybe at that time you weren't able to be the right instructor for them, or you weren't able to be the right leader for them.
Definitely.
And your original instructor, there's always room for growth down the road, or it may be just sometimes, there's horses that we've worked with where one person's not going to get along with that horse.
Yeah.
Another person can. And it's just whether they're suited or not. But that's an interesting parallel there to me of you needing the right instructor to help you with flying, and then thinking about as your leadership grew through the years, you were able to become better at that because of the same things that you learned.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that same guy ended up, when I bought my twin engine airplane, he was the one that helped me transition into it. You have to have a mentor pilot for 25 hours. And so my original instructor ended up being my mentor pilot, and we got along great, and he did a fantastic job. And so I'm constantly making parallels in everything that I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, why was he a better instructor at this point? Was it because I had more experience? He was more confident in me? Or was it because maybe he realized that the approach wasn't the best the first go around? I don't know. But
I would not knowing the situation, in my experience, I would say it was because you had more experience, because that state trooper was able to be a good leader in your inadequacy, and that's what a good leader does. A good leader can lead in somebody else's inadequacy and let them grow into their potential. And I would assume, like, most people don't. He was probably at least in his 50s, right?
Oh, yeah.
And older when you saw him the second time. Most people don't have great moves into leadership later in life. You know, they start with the right stuff and they grow. You know, and they're established by that point. So I would suspect it was probably.
There's so much that goes into that too, though, and it's especially with leadership. You know, for most of us, especially as men, fear typically comes out as anger if we don't learn how to manage our emotions and understand which ones are which and how to express them in a healthy way. And so if you're a leader and whoever you're leading isn't doing what they're doing, then the fear is failure, right? The fear for you is that it's not going to go right. I'm not going to produce the result that I need because of whatever this person's doing. Amplify that to the fact that you're now in an airplane. And if the person flying it does the wrong thing, you both die. So, you know, that if your fear in that situation is this kid's going to kill me, then your anxiety levels through the roof, and that's going to come out as anger in that situation. Whereas state trooper, maybe his background, his experience had led him to be like, it's okay. You know, his understanding of fear and his level of being able to deal with it was much different because he was able to triage that situation. So that's a really good amplified version of what happens to us in leadership when we're, you know, truthfully, I mean, when we're frustrated with our employees, it's 90% because we're afraid of our own failure.
Yeah. Can you, as a business, can you look at the bank account and know that it's really lean, be transparent and honest and not lie, but also not let them see you sweat, you know, in the right way? I mean, it's okay to be vulnerable, but, you know, he probably could look over and go, this dude's going to kill me if he doesn't pull the controls over this way. Mark, what do you think, buddy? Let's straighten this out. You know, no different looking at the bank account going, it's lean, or looking at your staff and going, I don't have what I need, or looking at the equipment and it's not quite there yet, but not folding like a cheap card table.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think I'd never really thought about it till Jake just said it, but, you know, the times when I worry about something related to business, it does come out as an anger of some sort. Like, I'm mad because somebody didn't do this, or why haven't you gone out and gotten more contracts, or you know, we're going to run out of work.
You can't be mad at what you can't control, so you find something you can control to be mad at.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I think that might be my takeaway of the day today.
It's free.
Yeah,
you're welcome. No charge.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, so we talked about flying. I want to ask about the farming and the ranching and the cowboy, and I do, before we get out of here, want to find out if we have time on the video. Great. I want to find out about your dad and Dominican and all that. But how did you said you started into farming in high school, and then you kind of got into that bigger now to the point where you've bought some property, you've got some cattle, and you're into that in a bigger way. And then here in the last 10 years, you've gotten into the horse thing?
Yeah, about the last 6 years, really.
Okay.
But, you know, the farming thing, like I had said earlier, it's always been a passion of mine. Unfortunately, the hobbies, you know, couldn't outweigh what I was going to do to make a living. Right. And so after college, you know, the first really almost 20 years was building up Southern Landscape Group.
Yeah.
And putting every ounce of energy I had into that, every dollar that I had back into that, and get that to a point where it was stable and we had a good base team. And I've always wanted to farm. I've always wanted to raise my kids in that type of environment, and with responsibilities and teaching them how to do things at young ages, working with your hands. And so the opportunity finally presented itself about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago to really be able to do that. And so we bought a farm and started with cutting hay on it first, and then got some small herd of cattle on it, and then ended up buying 2 other herds that we put with it. And the next thing I know, I was like, oh wow, we got 50 cows out here. This is really like work. And so
Your hobby turned into work.
yeah. But the interesting part is that it's all work that I love doing, my family loves doing. It wasn't really work. It's still, even to this day, it's still a hobby.
Yeah.
And so we started doing that. And actually, before that, my oldest daughter and youngest daughter were riding horses, just like trail riding with a friend of ours up in Huddleston, the Longneckers. And Ann is probably the one.
I didn't know you were friends with them.
Oh yeah. Ann
okay.
is, she's a special lady,
Yeah,
man.
they're cool.
She, I knew her husband, Dick, from work.
Yeah.
He was in the excavating
Yeah, I rode
business.
a horse with them a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and Ann is she just had this way with horses and the kids, and got both of my daughters interested. In fact, my youngest daughter was scared to death at first of the horses. She started riding when she was 5 or 6, and I mean, Ann would have her on there. She'd be bawling, crying, riding the horse, and Ann's like, "Suck it up, Buttercup. Come on, you can do it." And she'd get done riding, and it was like she realized she could do it. So she built some type of confidence in her, and my oldest one ended up getting out of it. She liked dancing more, but my youngest one just got eaten up with it. And so she ended up getting a horse, and then we moved our horse over to Jody and Richard Toms, who they're like family to us. They've been a godsend to us.
That horse was here Sunday.
Oh yeah,
Or Saturday.
Yeah.
You bought that horse from us, right?
Yeah. Gray, that gray mare we bought from y'all, and then Jody, another special person along the way. Her and Richard and Kaysen, really all three of them. I always laugh. I call them my cowboy coach because they helped all of us.
They're good coaches.
Along the way in a lot of different ways. And so we just got more into it, and Mia got more into it and was learning to be more competitive in it, and she was enjoying it and started doing some showing and some competing. And as she was doing it, I started riding some. I mean, I had casually ridden growing up, but I was not a rider.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you probably remember from the first time I came here and got on a horse trying to figure out how to open a gate on it to where we are at now has come a long ways. But we enjoy the horses. We enjoy riding. We have found them to be a tool on the farm. It's my favorite tool to use to check fences because it's slow, it's quiet, you get to see everything. I'm constantly making notes while I'm riding around. I mean, it may be work related, it may be family related.
Yep.
But we've used them to gather up cows. I had a sick cow the other day. We went out and were able to rope it and get it on a trailer, get it doctored. So it's a tool that we're enjoying. And I think what we've learned is that we love the horses, we love the cattle, and we love farming with them together. It's not so much about the competitions, it was, but it's more about how we use them on the farm and just coming home, saddling up and going out for a 30-minute ride or 45-minute ride.
Yeah.
You don't really have a connection with your four-wheeler or your side-by-side.
No, and I think
You got a connection, a real relationship connection with a good horse.
Oh, absolutely.
I think when you've made your living with machinery for years and years too, you appreciate being able to move and accomplish a task with something that doesn't make noise.
Yes.
It just
Yes.
there's some value in it.
That's
I
true.
made a lot of noise yesterday,
Well,
but yeah, that's cool.
you're in need of maintenance.
Yeah, yeah. My check engine light was on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your operation look like right now? The cattle deal.
So now, we altogether we've got about 400 acres. We cut all of our own hay. We cut orchard grass for the horses. We cut just regular grass hay for the cows. That's a lot of work, in the spring and early fall. That's where Carl comes in, my number one hay cut. Well, he'll do it all. He'll cut, bale, rake, whatever. And so will my wife, and my oldest daughter baled for us last year. So it's a fun process.
Tractor always smells like black and mild.
Oh yeah, one of the guys at Southern helps us, and he's like, "What tractor's Carl been in?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "He was in the 6120." He said, "I'll take the other one because that thing will smell like a black and mild cigar for a month." Oh golly.
He's such a good dude, though.
So how many cows are you running on that property?
So we just bred about 72, and I don't expect that we'll ever get much bigger than that, being that it's a hobby type farm too. That's
You kind of don't want to.
yeah.
A breakover point.
Yeah, well, there's a breakover point in cattle where you make money if you stay small because your overhead stays low. And if you go big, you make more money because you've just gotten more volume. Yeah. That middle part where you're in that growth phase, if you get stuck there, it'll screw you.
Yeah, and so we're learning a little bit about that, about sort of the danger zones of cattle numbers and what works and what doesn't work, and
Learning how to stock for the drought.
I'm telling you, we cut a lot of hay, and I'm glad we cut a lot of hay because
This winter was rough.
it was bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad. But if you talk to 10 different people about cattle, you'll get 10 different perspectives, 10 different ways to do it.
Yep.
And Jake, you've helped me a lot with cattle in several different occasions.
Yep.
But what I learned is you kind of pick a horse and you ride it. Like you find somebody that you trust that can help you,
Yep.
that can give you good solid input, and you roll with it.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of opinions, but I'm not constantly changing. Like, oh, we're going to do this. Oh no, now we're going to do this. Oh no, now we're going to do this.
Well, there's too many factors because it has to work, first of all, for your cattle and your ground, and it has to work for your life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And nobody's life is the same. Nobody's ground is the same. Nobody's water is the same, and nobody's cattle are really the same. So you've got to tailor it to you, right?
That's a great point. I can't have spring calves on my place because of my job, at Southern Landscape.
Yeah, that's your busiest time of the
That's
year.
the busiest time of the year. I can't be breaking away from work.
You need to calve in like August or maybe December.
Yeah. That's what we do. We calve, in the September, October range, and that's better because everything's sort of streamlined by then. And,
Slowing down.
Yeah, I can go out to the farm, once in the morning on my way to work, tag anything that's been born, and same thing in the evening. So it's like trying to fit that into your lifestyle, and still being good stewards of the land and good stewards of the animals, and taking care of them. And we are working to sell all of our beef direct to consumer. Okay. I expect that over the next couple years, we'll continue to refine our herd and get better genetics and get a smaller herd.
So you bred 72 and you're trying to finish all your calves, or
We won't finish all.
Okay,
of them.
okay.
No, we don't have enough room to finish all.
Yeah, that was my question. I was like, dang.
Now I think 40 really good quality cows that we can finish out and sell would be good. We're big into healthy eating, and we love grass-fed beef, and we blended these Akaushi Wagyu into the herd, and we've got some full bloods and then a lot of F1s.
Okay.
Just bred off of Angus or Simmentals.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working. And we're DNA testing for the first time, so we're getting better idea of genetics, and we're not going crazy. You can go berserk with genetics and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we just want good quality cows that do well on end of fight fescue around here, that raise a good quality beef and sell it. We've got a great avenue of prospective buyers to sell through just from the folks we work with at Southern Landscape.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a great mesh because you can show up with a cooler of beef and mow their lawn and then keep on trucking.
Yeah, yeah, and I've got multiple clients at in Lynchburg and at Smith Mountain Lake that are hey, I'm on board. I'm ready to buy. When you process, let me know.
Cool.
And I think there's something about people buying, grass fed, quality beef that they know has been taken care of. And
Yeah.
I just see the cab over trucks with the mowers on the back, and there's a cooler in the front, like one of
got a
those
reefer on the front.
The mowers come off. One guy gets out, brings the back feed in. The other guy starts weed eating.
I mean,
Got your beef share for you at the front door today.
if you want to talk, it's just add it to the checklist, make it part of the process.
You're already there.
You're adding efficiency because you cut out a trip. It's perfect.
That's exactly right.
Capitalizing.
Yeah,
It's like the Schwann truck. They have long
that's right.
They just don't mind.
Oh, golly. So we're learning how to be more efficient with that, and setting it up so it's easy to work and maneuver. And
Yeah.
You're also but whether they take it or not, I think it's really cool that you're establishing something that you can leave for legacy. If the business is going to be that, right? But then this is family legacy that they all love to do. I love watching the videos. I'm a dad. We're all dads, but when I see the girls out on a piece of equipment or driving a stick shift or whatever, when you post that stuff, I'm like, man, that is the good stuff right there. All the other stuff is cool. That's the good stuff.
That's the stuff
And you're
they
leaving
remember.
legacy for them, whether they want to do it or not. It's still theirs, and you can step back one day and say, here.
Let's talk about family for a second. I want to tell me about your family and your wife, your daughters.
Yeah, so I've been married for 18 years. Meredith and I were best of friends in high school, college, but never dated until after we got out of college. And she had moved to Richmond, and we started seeing each other. I was in Lynchburg. Obviously, I wasn't going anywhere because of my business. She worked for Ferguson, got transferred back to Lynchburg because they knew that that's where I was and where she wanted to be. And so we got married. We were married for 2 years, and then had our oldest daughter, Meg, who starts driving this year. She's 15 and a half. And then 3 years later, we had our youngest daughter, Mia. Mia's the one that is the horse rider. Meg's the one that's an avid dancer 5 nights a week.
Oh, wow.
She's dang good at it. And she is one of the most committed human beings I know, just dedicated to her art and craft of dancing and constantly practicing, does really well in school.
I have a lot of respect for the dancers, more so than I used to. Been going with my wife to these beta conventions, and part of the competition there is dance. And when you see, there's some girls there that are pretty good, but then when you see the girls that are the avid, like committed, this is their craft, it's way different. Way different.
I had buddies that, we used to go to these dance recitals because Meg started dancing when she was 3.
Oh, wow.
So she's been doing it a long time. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Mm-hmm. These dance recitals are like 6 hours long.
Yeah.
There's kids bouncing around. And so the first 5 years, it was like, okay, this is cute. Let's get on with the show.
Right.
But as they get older and they really, she got better at dancing, I genuinely look forward to going to watch her dance now because it's fun. She's really good at it.
It's like watching somebody that's really good with a horse and on a really good horse, and it's effortless.
That's
and
right.
It's fluid, and you don't even see what's happening, and you don't see the effort that goes into it's a hugely athletic maneuver to accomplish it, but it looks like water flowing through a rock or whatever. It's it's cool to see.
You're right. That's a great way to put it. And so watching her grow up, be successful doing that. I mean, she's now at the point where she's starting to talk about, what does she want to do after high school, and where does she want to go, and what does she want to learn to do. And
It goes really fast.
it does. And for me, it's all about, my job for the first 18 years is to build their toolbox, give them tools that they can use in life to sort through problems. I always jokingly tell them I want them to be smart and independent enough to live independently, but I want them to find a great husband and have a wonderful family. But I don't want them to have to be wondering like, oh my gosh, how do I put a spare tire on my car? Or how do I cut the grass? Or how do I balance my checkbook? Or just some good critical thinking, decision-making skills. I figure if I can get them out of high school with those basics, like they can pretty much be successful, wherever they go. And I always say that, at the end of the day, when I'm gone or my wife's gone, their legacy is pretty much your kids, right? So it's how successful they are, what they're doing, are they passionate? And I think success doesn't mean they've got to run a big company or a big business. Success means, are they happy in their life? Do they have a family? Are they doing well? I think things like that are what really is important. And for me, as I was growing Southern Landscape Group early on, I worked all the time. I worked 7 days a week, went home after bed, left before everybody woke up. And it wasn't really until my oldest daughter got into maybe like 7th or 8th grade that I was like, oh, smokes, man, I got some catching up to do. And really started working hard to take more time to be with and around them.
Present.
Yeah, being present. And, being present, I've learned, is not being at home on your cell phone.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Being there and being present are two different things. Jake wants to know about your dad.
Yeah. So my dad was born and raised in the Dominican Republic in Santo Domingo. His father was an electrical engineer from Germany, and his mother worked for the ambassador to the Dominican Republic. So he went to school in Germany, then moved to the Dominican Republic. And when he was in the Dominican Republic, he met my grandmother, who was born and raised in the Dominican. They got married, had my dad. My grandfather was an electrical engineer, and he worked primarily on radio communications in the Dominican. He saw things were really trending in a bad direction with Trujillo at the time, was the, I guess you would say, dictator in the Dominican. And he knew that he had to do something. And so he got connected with GE and moved to Schenectady, New York. My dad and
That's a switch.
grandmother stayed in the Dominican.
Yeah.
He went to Schenectady, New York, got connected with GE, and it took, I think it was about 2 years before my dad and his mom could get over.
Oh, wow.
So my dad was 12-ish when he came over to the States. Didn't know a word of English. Played stickball in the streets in Santo Domingo, and the only way he communicated with people here was body language. And of course, I say body language is 55% of communication, words are 38%, and tone of voice is 7%. So he had 55% of it down. And, he learned English, got in school, went to Holy Cross here, and then to EC Glass. And he followed in his dad's footsteps in electrical engineering at Virginia Tech. And I remember I was 7 years old when he became an actual citizen. So a naturalized citizen. I remember going to D.C. and to the courtroom and watching that process come through. So he's got a really unique perspective on immigration, all this stuff going on. He's definitely a proponent for immigration. He is definitely a proponent for legal immigration too.
And then we're going to embark on that process next month when we get back from a trip. And
Your wife's finally going to be an American.
Yep. And
We love you, Courtney.
No matter how you do it, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes of that. It's not it's the process. It's the, your dad's probably very proud
extremely,
Of where he came from.
extremely proud.
But he's probably also very proud to be an American and have the things that you're afforded here in this country.
He doesn't have a desire to go back to his home country. America is his home.
Have you been to the Dominican?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been there. He's taken us where he grew up and
cool.
shown us. And we've tried to get him to go back and so that we can take our kids.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the desire. His heart's here. His family's here. Everything he needs is here. And
Yeah.
he became an American citizen. That was what was important to him.
That's an interesting island anyway.
Yeah. The split with Haiti's a little interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to Haiti twice. It's very different. My wife's been to Dominican, so it's very different cultures. But
it's poor third world country.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So your grandfather, was he a German? He spoke German?
Yeah, he spoke 4 languages.
Okay.
Yeah, so
But they wouldn't have spoken English at home.
No, never when my grandfather knew English when he came to the United States.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. My dad didn't, because they didn't talk English at home. They spoke Spanish.
Right. Okay. Is your grandmother Spanish speaker naturally, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And she spoke marginal English. I mean, even she's no longer with us, but even when she was alive, she would always talk to my dad in Spanish, never in English.
Okay.
And she would talk to my mom in English some, and us as kids.
Yeah.
My dad tried speaking Spanish growing up to help teach us, and my mom would continually get frustrated. She didn't know what he was saying. So that was always interesting. But
such a valuable skill to be able to speak different languages. I wish I had the time. I probably do. I just haven't been diligent, but I'd love to be able to. I think being able to speak Spanish is valuable in our country.
Yeah.
I mean, politics aside, I mean, if you're surrounded by people who speak a different language, your ability to communicate is important. And
for sure,
I think a lot of feelings get trapped up in the ability to communicate, and when it shouldn't be. It should be like, it's just the ability to communicate.
That's right.
Leave your feelings aside. I think it's a very valuable skill set to have. I mean, in a business, as a business owner, if you're employing people that speak a different language, I mean, it's going to make you a better business owner.
For sure. Yeah, it does help when you can communicate with them.
Yeah.
For sure.
What's the hardest thing you've had to overcome?
The hardest thing I had to overcome back in 2021, I had got acute nephritis. Have you never heard of what that is? I hadn't either. So essentially, my kidneys the kidney function started deteriorating. And it deteriorated to the point where, I mean, they were talking like dialysis, kidney transplants. And this is right during COVID. There was just all these external pressures that I was experiencing. COVID, at that time I was working all the time. I wasn't seeing my family a lot. Business was just a lot of unknowns going on. We had just started construction on a new office that was going to be north of $1 million. Anyhow, and then all of a sudden, I'm retaining all this fluid. I gained like 20 pounds. I couldn't hardly walk from here down the steps without being out of breath. That was a really surreal moment because, I remember going to the hospital, getting biopsies done, and I thought, oh my gosh, like this is going to take me out. I'm only 35. Like, how in the world does this happen? Or 38, however old I was. And so, a lot of praying, a lot of great doctors. We sort of figured out what was going on and were able to. I remember going in and talking to one of my doctors, and he's like, Mark, your kidneys are about 50%. He's like, the reality is they're not ever going to go back to where they were.
Oh, wow.
He's like, we've just got to stop it from getting worse. And your body's attacking your kidneys. It thinks something's wrong. And I thought, oh, geez, this is terrible. So I just started doing a lot of research, started talking, getting connected with other people, learning. And I tell people to this day, at the end of the day, I think it was God's way of telling me that I needed to slow down. Like there was too much going on in my life outside of what was really important. I think the stress, I didn't think I was a stressed person, but looking back on it, I was ultra stressed because it was still the point in my life where I was trying to do everything at the company. I was trying to I was trying to answer everybody. I was trying to be responsible for everything. I wasn't delegating tasks. I wasn't using the talent that I had. I ran off some good people during that time too. But we prayed a whole lot, just trying to understand what was going on and why, and that, we take something from this. And that was really a massive turning point in my life, personally and at work, is because I realized all of a sudden, and I commented on this on that other podcast the other day, that I had gotten too busy making a living and forgot to make a life. It was just all about work. It was about work and grinding at work. And the funny thing is now I spend less time at work. I mean, I still work every day. I still am there probably 45, 50 hours a week. But it's so much less stressful. I've got great people. They've taken over a lot of things that I've been able to delegate. I've been able to spend more time with my family. We've been able to do these RV trips every summer. And I think it was the good Lord's way of telling me, Mark, you're young. You still got time to enjoy your family before your kids get older.
Yeah.
And he spoke to me, and it was definitely an inflection point in my life, because the path I was going on was not sustainable in some way, shape, or form. I was going to lose a business or I was going to lose family, but it definitely was not sustainable. And so fast forward, I go to the doctor every year. Then I go to a nephrologist and a rheumatologist every year just for a check-in. And the nephrologist, every time I go in there, he's like, I don't understand it. I don't understand. Like, your kidneys are functioning at 110%. I don't get it. I said, I don't know, man. I guess God wants me around here for something. He's something that is still some unfinished business or something that I need to complete. But
how did they treat that? How were you treated in that process?
They put you on these immunosuppressants to get your kidney to calm down. And then I worked with another functional medicine doctor in Pennsylvania on doing a lot of other things, from meditation to holistic type treatments, red light therapies. We were doing these electric impulse things on my kidneys. We were just doing a lot of untraditional type things. And so what happened is, as things started getting better, we started weaning off of those immunosuppressants. And I don't take any medicine today. I haven't taken any in like 3 years. But I still do a lot of the other stuff.
Aside from the stress, I mean, were you as healthy a lifestyle as you are now, or was your eating habits and I know the stress was there, but I mean, were you a heavy drinker? Were you eating just horribly?
No, we've never really eaten horribly. Right. I mean, and I've never been a big drinker.
Right.
But it wasn't like I was living this unhealthy lifestyle from a food consumption standpoint.
Right.
I was living an unhealthy lifestyle from just a viability standpoint of work and family. Yeah. That was what was unhealthy in my life.
Sure.
And so I think it was just a big eye opener.
It's kind of funny. There's been a theme through this, even though we started talking about the sixes. The thing you drew from that was that their priorities are faith, family, cows, in that order, right? And what we've found as we've walked through this is that your priorities are faith, family, work now, but they weren't then.
Nah.
And so your priorities have been realigned. And in Resilient Leaders, General D's book. I think it's behind me somewhere, maybe. Anyway, he talks about leadership being the seamless integration of faith, family, and career in that order.
Yeah.
So it's being able to integrate those and have them in balance and have them in correct priority order is what makes us good leaders. It's what makes the Sixes an industry leader. It's what makes Southern Landscape Group an industry leader in that field, in this area. It boils down to those three things and having them right.
I wish I had his book about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Another lesson learned the hard way, but it's true. I mean, it was a complete realignment because it for me, it was work. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say that I don't even know that that time period, that as regretful as it is, that family and faith was even on the list. It was just go to work. And I thought that going to work, by doing that, I was earning a living. That's what I needed to do. And that wasn't really
But it was for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't.
Right.
And so that's how I learned that lesson. And, my perspective is much new. I don't get as wound up about things as I used to. And, I made the comment earlier, it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. It's somewhere in between. And I have no problems leaving work early to go see a kid's event, or taking 3 weeks off during the summer to go on a trip with the kids. Mm-hmm. So
we'll start, as Jake says, we'll start to land the plane. Tell me what is in the future. Just nutshell it for personal. Like, I know you just got back from the Sphere. You were able to take your wife on a trip there. You were telling me about that.
Yeah, we snuck over there and watched the Eagles play in the Sphere. That was cool. That was really neat.
That'd be cool.
That was really neat.
What fun stuff do you have on the horizon like that? Flight trips, charity I know you do some charity with the plane from time to time. What is in the future for that? What's in the future for business that you can share?
We've got a pretty big growth push this year at Southern Landscape Group. We've got some great people in great positions to do it. I think the lion's share of my free time this year will be spent, working with Southern Landscape Group. We're dialing in the dynamics at the farm with the cattle and getting the herd to the right size with the right quality. We'll continue to do that. I've taken an interest in this team roping thing, which is a lot of fun. I have really enjoyed that, and I've had a lot of good help along the way. So I imagine we'll do some of that this fall. And I think outside of that, we're gonna zero in on those things. I don't think there's nothing earth shattering or ultra exciting. We are, I'm learning to find a lot of happiness and peace and just calm, and realizing that you don't always have to be going at 100 miles an hour to. When you are, you're not able to enjoy a lot of the things. So just slow down, enjoy some things. My oldest daughter's got 3 years before she goes to college. So that window's getting smaller and smaller. So
Cool deal.
You got any final?
No, I'm good, man. This has been a really cool conversation. I think it's been neat to watch the flow of it and watch the themes come out. That's kind of the fun thing about these interviews is you start out not knowing where it's going to go, and then by the end of it, you've actually had a TED talk on something or another by the end of it.
If you could, this is something we're going to start implementing into the podcast at the end. If you could recommend one person to sit down with us at Tall on the Saddle podcast.
Oh God, you sound like a life insurance salesman now. It's like, can you give us the names of 3 of your friends?
Who would you think would be a good interview?
You need to get Melvin in here. He'd be
I agree. I would agree. I saw him recently I can't remember where I saw him at an event or somewhere, and I didn't get.
He's got such a unique background, from the military to, Army Ranger to business owner. He is.
Definitely need to get him in here.
He is the definition of sharp dressed man.
Yeah.
This guy is always dressed to the nines.
Yeah. Good
But
call. Yeah.
he'd be a good one.
Will you help me? Will you
It's
help
high
me?
praise from you, Mark.
I might get your help to facilitate that.
Oh, yeah, be
We'll
glad
reach out
to.
him. And
You might be the only person I know that dresses snappier than Bobby. So
I'm just glad it's like I don't have to wear a coat anymore. We're finally coming out of this winter. It, like,
Yeah,
killed
that's the
me.
truth.
But well, cool. We close every podcast out with prayer. If you'd like to pray us out, you certainly can.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today. This great group of men share some perspectives, some life lessons learned, and remembering that keeping you at the forefront of our lives will always continue to yield wonderful and amazing results. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to gain some perspective on my life and hopefully be able to share it with some other folks. And thank you guys for your wisdom that you brought today and the lessons that I've learned from being here and speaking with y'all. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Tall in the Saddle podcast. We will try to get out what we've been doing, quick video
In the next week.
in the next week. Thank you for that motivation.
Locked in.
Sooner or later. And we may have a little reprieve because we both got some trips. We're going to Road to the Horse pretty soon. And then
Sweet.
I'm out of the country for a couple weeks, but we will get back in the saddle and get these things recorded as soon as we get back on property. So until then, take care. We'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonas.